The courtroom was dead silent. One of those silences that presses in on your ears when Marcus Washington, a 70-year-old black veteran with a prosthetic leg, crumpled to the floor. The judge had refused his simple request to stay seated, treating Marcus as if his sacrifices didn't mean a thing. As medics rushed in, cameras flashed, and gasps rippled through the gallery. Nobody quite realized that in that one shocking moment, everything about American justice was about to change. Let me back up a sec. Marcus Washington wasn't always some name in a headline or symbol for justice. He was just a man who believed in this country enough to give it everything he had. 3 tours in Vietnam, a chest full of medals, and a leg lost in battle so his brothers in arms could make it home. Purple Heart, Bronze Star, the works. The kind of stuff that should have meant honor and security, not pain and suspicion. But you know how life is. When Marcus came home, it was like the world had moved on. Employers didn't want a black veteran with a limp and PTSD. He bounced between odd jobs, fighting off nightmares and sideways glances, until he finally found some purpose mentoring kids at the local community center, showing them how to stand tall, how to survive in a world that often refused to see them. That little house he shared with his grandson, Jamal, became his anchor after losing his wife to cancer and his daughter in a car wreck. The boy meant everything. Things unraveled one afternoon at a protest. It was supposed to be peaceful, a march for a local teen shot by police. Marcus wasn't looking for trouble, but Jamal wanted to go. So Marcus went, hoping his presence would keep things calm. But cops in riot gear started shoving people, and when Marcus saw a young protester manhandled, someone who looked like Jamal, his old instincts kicked in. He tried to shield the kid, steadying himself on his cane, but police claimed he attacked them. Security footage? Corrupted. Suddenly, he's booked, mugshot on the news, painted as a threat. You ever feel the world stacking the deck against someone just because of how they look or who they are? That's what Marcus was up against. The DA, a white guy named Holloway, wanted to make an example out of him, calling him a violent agitator. The judge, Carlton, was a former military man too, but his combat experience was mostly paperwork in an office far from the front lines. He wore his service-like armor, but used it to justify his bias. You know what I mean? This was the guy who once told a black lawyer she was surprisingly articulate. Sarah Chun, Marcus' court-appointed attorney, was young and overworked, but something about Marcus' case lit a fire in her. She started digging, found out black vets in that county got way harsher sentences, that evidence was always lost when it might help them, and that requests for disability accommodations were granted to white vets way more often. But every time Sarah pushed, Carlton shut her down, denying motions, overruling objections, refusing to let the jury see proof Marcus couldn't have done what he was accused of. Jamal, meanwhile, started getting harassed at school. Notes in his locker, teachers who used to praise him now side-eyeing him like trouble was contagious. But support started coming from places Marcus never expected. James Porter, a white Marine who'd served with him in Vietnam, saw his face on the news and drove 3 hours to visit. "That man saved my life," he told anyone who'd listen. There were twists. A journalist named Tamika Robinson dug up proof the judge's own son worked for the DA, a conflict nobody disclosed. Then Sarah got an anonymous call. Someone sent her body cam footage showing police planning to make an example out of Marcus and then shoving him, not the other way around. But the judge blocked it, called it inadmissible. The walls kept closing in, but here's where it gets real. The veterans started showing up, day after day, filling the court in full uniform. Marines, Army, Black, White, Latino. Their presence, their silence. It shook even the most cynical juror. The judge tried to have them removed. He couldn't. Protesters rallied outside. Jamal led a walkout at his school. Suddenly, this was more than Marcus. It was a movement. And then, the trial's climax. Despite medical warnings, the judge refused to allow Marcus to sit during testimony. And during cross, Marcus collapsed, heart pounding, gasping for air, the courtroom in chaos. Even then, The judge claimed he was faking. Pictures leaked of Marcus, handcuffed to a hospital bed, oxygen mask pressed to his face, two guards at the door. America saw a hero who'd given everything, now shackled by the very system he'd fought to protect. The backlash was immediate. Veterans groups marched in silent protest. Churches held vigils. The story blew up on national news. Then, leaked footage proved the police lied. The appellate court ordered it admitted. Witnesses recanted. Under the weight of all that, the DA offered Marcus a plea deal. Time served. Just plead to a misdemeanor. Marcus just looked at him, said, "I didn't fight for a country where innocence pleads guilty for convenience." During a final court session, Judge Carlton ordered Marcus, frail, on oxygen, barely able to walk, to stand for a contempt charge. Marcus struggled, tried to rise, but collapsed. A fellow Marine rushed to help. The judge tried to have him removed. One by one, veterans stood. "I stand with Marcus Washington." Then a black woman in uniform, a young vet with a cane, the gallery, civilians soon. Nearly everyone in the courtroom was on their feet. The judge lost control, sputtering about procedure as Marcus, supported by his friend, spoke his truth. "I stood for this country when called. I've stood for truth every day since. Today, when I physically can't stand, others stand with me." That's what justice looks like. The image of that, of a man who'd given everything, now lifted up by a community who refused to let him fall, went viral. The state Supreme Court intervened, suspended the judge, dismissed the charges, and ordered an inquiry into the county's entire justice system. The DA's political career tanked, reforms swept in, and Marcus was finally free, scarred but undefeated. His case became the catalyst for new laws protecting disabled veterans and strengthening anti-discrimination measures in courtrooms nationwide. The veterans who stood that day formed an alliance to fight for justice for all who served, regardless of color. And Marcus? He quietly resumed his work, using his story to mentor others, never seeking the spotlight, but happy to use his hard-won voice so the next generation wouldn't have to fight the same battles. So now, I've got to ask, if you were in that courtroom, would you have stood? Have you ever seen injustice play out right in front of you? What did you do, or wish you'd done? Let's talk about what it really means to stand for justice. Because sometimes, real strength is knowing when to stand together. If Marcus' story moved you, hit that like button, share your thoughts below, and subscribe for more stories that remind us. Justice is never just about the law. It's about dignity, courage, and never letting anyone stand alone.